Welcome back to Myth Under the Microscope, the podcast where we take common knowledge and put it to the test. I'm your host, Anna.
And I'm Jimmy. It's great to be here. Anna, today's topic is a big one. We're tackling those facts that everyone just seems to know. The ones you hear from your parents, your teachers, even on TV.
Exactly. We're talking about the myths that are so common, you've probably never even thought to question them. We've got a list of 10 whoppers today, and I have a feeling some of these are going to be mind benders.
I can't wait. Our listeners are in for a treat. Are you ready to dive in?
Let's get right into it. Coming in at number 10, a myth every parent on the planet swears is true, the sugar high lie.
Oh, the classic. Every parent thinks giving their kids sugar turns them into a tiny tornado, a whirlwind of pure, unadulterated energy.
I totally believed this. You give a kid a cupcake at a birthday party and you brace for impact, but you're telling me it's a lie?
A complete one. That idea is completely wrong. And the best part is, scientists tested this. They did a brilliant experiment where they gave some kids sugar and others got fake sugar, a placebo. And the key was neither the kids nor their parents knew who got what.
A double-blind study, the gold standard. So what happened? Did the sugar kids start climbing the walls?
The result was absolutely nothing. The sugar kids weren't any more hyper than the no-sugar kids. The real shocker was about the parents. When parents about their kids had sugar, even when they hadn't, they suddenly started seeing them as hyperactive.
No way. So it's a placebo effect on the adults.
Precisely. They watched their kids like hawks, waiting for any sign of energetic behavior. Kid jumps once, they blame the sugar. Kid laughs a little too loudly, must be a sugar rush.
That is fascinating. It's all about expectation. So where did this whole idea even come from?
This whole thing started back in the 1970s when a doctor claimed food additives were making kids hyperactive. Parents jumped on that idea immediately. Think about it. A kid bouncing off the walls at a birthday party probably has more to do with being at a birthday party than the cake they just ate.
That makes perfect sense. They're excited, playing with friends, maybe a little sleep-deprived from the anticipation.
Exactly. Those kids would be just as hyper if you gave them sugar-free cake. The culprit isn't the sugar, it's the fun.
Short, thoughtful musical transition. All right, from the body to the brain. Number 9 is a myth I've seen in so many movies. It's the ultimate human potential trope.
Ah, yes. The idea that your brain isn't slacking off. You've probably heard that humans only use 10% of their brains.
Of course! The movie Limitless, Lucy. It's all about unlocking that other 90% and becoming a super genius.
Well, that's about as true as saying fish only use 10% of the ocean. This myth is so popular that Hollywood made entire movies about it. The ones where someone takes a magic pill and suddenly they're solving quantum physics while doing backflips.
So you're telling me I can't take a pill and suddenly learn Mandarin overnight?
Sorry to burst your bubble, but your brain is already going full throttle all the time. Scientists can watch brains light up in real time using special scanners like fMRIs, and they see activity everywhere all the time. Even when you're sleeping, your brain is working. It's controlling your breathing, managing your heartbeat, and replaying embarrassing memories from middle school.
Oh, great. So it's working hard to make me cringe at 3 a.m. But that energy use stat is wild.
It's incredible. Your brain only makes up 2% of your body's weight. But this little overachiever uses 20% of your body's energy. That's like having a tiny space heater that eats all your electricity. If 90% of your brain was really doing nothing, evolution would have removed it ages ago. Nature doesn't keep useless stuff around.
That's the nail in the coffin right there. So how did a myth this big even get started?
The proof is what happens when any tiny part of the brain gets damaged. Even a small injury can cause major problems. This 10% myth likely came from a Harvard researcher in the 1800s who said people weren't living up to their full potential. Then someone misinterpreted that to mean we only use 10% of our brains physically, and the myth was born.
Sound of a coin dropping and a whoosh of air. Okay, this next one is a classic schoolyard dare. At number 8, we have the idea that pennies from heaven won't kill you.
You've probably heard that a penny dropped from the Empire State Building could punch through someone's skull. It's such a dramatic and terrifying image.
I have definitely pictured that, but I'm guessing it's not true.
Not even close. When someone drops a penny from a pie, it starts falling, picking up speed thanks to gravity. But then air resistance kicks in. Air is an empty space. It pushes back against anything moving through it too fast. The penny is flat and light, so it hits these air molecules and starts tumbling.
So it flutters instead of rocketing down.
Exactly. By the time it falls about 50 feet, it reaches its terminal velocity, which is just 25 miles per hour. That's slower than an average bicycle rider. Getting hit by a penny at that speed would feel like someone flicking you. Annoying, but not fatal.
So the real danger isn't the penny?
Nope. If you dropped that same penny in a vacuum, like in space, it would reach speeds over 200 miles per hour. But down here on Earth, you're more likely to get seriously hurt by a falling ballpoint pen. Those are aerodynamic enough to act like tiny arrows. So, new theory unlocked.
Sound of a powerful lightning strike and a low rumble of thunder. All right, so speaking of things falling from the sky, number 7 is about lightning's repeat offender status.
The old saying, lightning never strikes the same place twice.
A phrase people use for everything, but it's totally wrong, isn't it?
Dead wrong. The Empire State Building, for example, gets hit by lightning around 25 times every single year.
25 times! And there's that famous story about the park ranger, right?
You bet. There was a park ranger named Roy Sullivan who got struck by lightning 7 different times. They called him the human lightning rod. He survived all 7 strikes, which is just unbelievable. After the 4th strike, his coworkers started avoiding him during storms. I can't say I blame him.
I would too. So the lesson is that tall things are basically lightning magnets.
Pretty much. Lightning often hits the same tall objects repeatedly. If you're the tallest thing around, like a lone tree in a field, you're basically a target during a storm. And here's a truly scary part. Lightning can strike miles away from the actual storm. These are called bolts from the blue because they can come out of a clear blue sky. You could be out there when the sky looks clear and suddenly, zap.
Sound of a Viking battle horn followed by a comical womp womp trombone sound. All right, let's go back in time for number 6. Picture of Viking. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Big beard, axe, and...
A horned helmet. But hold on, because Vikings left their horns at home.
What? No! That's their signature look.
It's a total fabrication. Vikings never wore horned helmets in the battle. This whole horned helmet thing was made up by theater costume designers in the 1800s. They were designing costumes for Wagnerian opera performances and thought horns looked dramatic and fierce. In doing so, they accidentally created one of history's biggest fashion lies.
When you think about it, it does seem a little impractical for a fleet.
Totally. Going into battle wearing something that gives your enemy 2 perfect handles to grab is not practical. Or the horns could get stuck on tree branches during a raid. The real Viking helmets that archaeologists have found were plain protective gear, maybe with a nose guard.
So no horns at all. Where did the opera designers even get the idea?
Well, they did find some horned helmets in Denmark, but these were from 3,000 years before the Vikings. These ancient helmets weren't for fighting. They were ceremonial, like an ancient crown. Some opera costume designers from the 1800s likely saw these ancient ceremonial helmets and thought, perfect, let's make the Vikings wear these. And now millions of people think Vikings ran around with horns on their heads.
Sound of a razor shaving clean and sharp. Okay, from historical fashion to modern grooming, number 5 is a myth that has probably caused a lot of hesitation over the years. The idea that your razor is making you hairier.
You've probably heard that shaving makes your hair grow back thicker and darker. That is complete nonsense.
But it feels like it does. When the stubble grows back, it feels so much rougher and coarser.
That's the trick your brain is playing on you. When you shave, you're giving each hair a tiny flat top haircut. Imagine cutting a tree straight across with a chainsaw. That stump feels rougher and looks wider than the natural tapered end of a branch. The same thing happens with your hair. When it grows back, it feels thicker because you've created thousands of tiny flat-topped hair stumps.
So it's the shape of the hair tip, not the hair itself changing.
Exactly. Scientists have studied this for decades. They found shaving has zero effect on your hair growth. Your hair's thickness, color, and growth rate are locked in by your genes. That razor isn't reprogramming your DNA.
That's a great point.
Think about it. If shaving really made hair grow thicker, every balding guy would be shaving their head daily. We'd have found the cure for baldness in a can of shaving cream. But Jeff Bezos is still bald, despite being able to afford infinite expensive razors. The myth persists because the stubble feels convincing when it grows back. It's the same old hair, just with a blunt end.
Sound of someone jumping into a pool with a splash. All right, number 4 is another classic momism. Let's head to the pool. You can swim whenever you want.
Your mom probably told you to wait 30 minutes after eating before swimming, warning you'd get cramps and drown. This myth is so widespread, even lifeguards used to enforce it.
I was terrified of this as a kid. I'd sit by the pool, staring at the clock, waiting for those 30 minutes to be up.
We all did, but there's zero evidence swimming after eating is dangerous. Not a single documented case exists of someone drowning because they ate before diving in. The theory was that after eating, blood rushes to your stomach for digestion, leaving your arms and legs without enough blood, causing cramps.
Which sounds plausible, I guess.
It sounds plausible, but our bodies are smarter than that. They can handle both digestion and swimming just fine. You might get a minor cramp if you swim intensely right after a huge meal, but that's similar to going for a hard run after eating. The American Red Cross confirms this isn't a real danger. In fact, competitive swimmers actually eat during their training sessions to keep their energy up.
So the rule should be maybe don't eat an entire Thanksgiving dinner right before attempting to swim the English Channel.
Exactly. Maybe don't eat an entire pizza right before intense swimming, but a sandwich before a dip in the pool is perfectly fine.
The sound of a chilly winter wind blowing. Okay, from the summer pool to the winter cold for number 3. This is another piece of advice from every mother on earth. But it turns out your head isn't a heat chimney.
Your mom probably told you, put on a hat or you'll freeze to death. That whole, you lose 50% of your body heat through your head thing is complete and utter nonsense.
50%? That always sounded so extreme to me. Where did that number even come from?
This myth started with an old Army survival manual that claimed 40 to 45% of body heat escapes through the head. But here's the catch. In their test, they dressed people in full Arctic winter gear and left their heads exposed.
Oh, well, of course most of the heat escaped through their heads. It was the only part that wasn't covered.
You got it. It was a flawed experiment. In reality, your head makes up about 10% of your body's surface area, so it can only lose about 10% of your body heat. Heat loss is actually proportional to whatever skin is exposed. Your head might feel extra cold because it has more blood vessels close to the surface, but you're not actually losing significantly more heat there compared to other exposed body parts.
So, if I'm wearing a t-shirt in the snow, my arms are losing just as much heat as my head.
Precisely. Your uncovered arms will lose just as much heat as your uncovered head. The only time this advice actually makes sense is for babies and small kids. Their heads are proportionally bigger compared to their bodies, so they do lose more heat up there. But for adults, a hat is no more important than a good pair of gloves.
The sound of gentle bubbling from a fish tank. This next one, number 2, is used as an insult, the goldfish memory.
Everyone says goldfish have a 3-second memory. It's the go-to comparison for someone who's forgetful, but it's complete nonsense. These fish are actually pretty smart.
Smarter than 3 seconds, I hope.
Way smarter. Scientists put goldfish in mazes. They not only solved them, but remembered the solution months later. These fish can even recognize faces. Imagine being a goldfish swimming in your bowl thinking, oh look, it's Dave again with the food.
I will never look at a goldfish the same way again. They know who I am.
They do, and they can also learn tricks. Some goldfish trainers have taught them to do things like swim through hoops or even play a tiny version of soccer. Some goldfish have learned to tell different pieces of classical music apart, and they can do all this with a brain smaller than a pea.
That's incredible. So they're basically tiny aquatic geniuses.
They are far more intelligent than we give them credit for. Scientists think studying goldfish brains might help us understand human memory better.
the sound of someone chewing bubblegum and a loud pop. And here we are, the number one myth, the one that has haunted school children for generations. I know I was terrified of this. Gum doesn't stick around in your stomach for years.
Yes, that story about swallowed gum staying in your stomach for 7 years is a terrifying, sticky lie.
I remember being told it would just sit there in a ball for 7 years. I pictured this growing wad of gum inside me.
It's a great scary story for kids, but that's all it is. When you swallow gum, it travels through your digestive system just like any other food. The only difference is that your body can't break down the gum base. Think of gum like corn kernels.
Right. They pass through undigested.
It just passes right through. Most gum is out of your system within 1 to 2 days. It doesn't stick to your insides. Your stomach is constantly moving and pushing stuff along with powerful acids and muscles.
So, unless you're swallowing huge amounts of gum every day, you're fine.
Exactly. And those stories about gum causing problems, unless you're swallowing huge amounts of gum constantly, you're probably fine. Humans have been chewing random stuff for thousands of years. Ancient Greeks chewed tree resin. Mayans chewed chicle. None of them died from 7 years of gum buildup.
So, the final verdict is gum won't stick in your stomach.
But it can stick on sidewalks for years. That's a fact.
And that's our list. 10 myths officially busted. Jimmy, I have to say, my worldview is a little shaken today. Hornless Vikings, smart goldfish, and harmless gum.
It just goes to show you how easily misinformation can spread and become common knowledge. It's always worth being curious and looking for the real story.
Absolutely. We hope we blew your minds a little bit today. That's all for this episode of Myth Under the Microscope.
That's all for today. We will be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.
And let us know in the comments which myth surprised you the most. Until next time, stay skeptical.